The fluorescent lights of the community center buzzed like dying insects, casting a sickly pallor over my already pale skin. I'd spent 3 days working up the courage to leave my apartment for this support group meeting. 3 days of Dr. Martinez's voicemail messages growing increasingly concerned. "Sarah, you need to connect with others who understand. Please, just try it once." The lobby smelled of industrial cleaner and stale coffee. A crooked paper sign with an arrow pointed down a dim hallway. Depression Support Group, Room 103. My fingers traced the prescription bottle in my coat pocket, a nervous habit I'd developed since starting the antidepressants 4 months ago. The orange plastic felt warm against my skin, almost alive. The meeting room was smaller than I'd expected, chairs arranged in a loose circle under more flickering fluorescence. A few people were already seated, their faces drawn and tired like mine. No one looked up when I entered. We were all too familiar with the desire to remain invisible, except for her. "You must be new." The woman's voice carried a warmth that seemed out of place in the sterile room. She approached with graceful steps, her dark hair falling in soft waves around a heart-shaped face. "I'm Claire. Here, come sit by me." Her smile reached her eyes, a rare thing in a place like this. I mumbled my name, following her to a pair of empty chairs. She smelled of lavender and vanilla, homey scents that made my chest ache. When was the last time I'd been close enough to smell another person's perfume? The group session passed in a blur of shared stories and sympathetic nods. I barely spoke, but Claire's presence beside me felt oddly anchoring. She leaned in when others talked about their darkest moments, her face a perfect mask of empathy. During the break, she brought me terrible coffee in a styrofoam cup. Her fingernails painted a deep burgundy that reminded me of dried blood. "It's so brave of you to come," she said, her voice low and intimate. I remember my first time here. I could barely breathe. Her hand brushed mine as she passed the coffee, her skin cool and smooth. "It gets easier, I promise." I should have noticed then how her eyes lingered too long on my face, studying me like a scientist examining a particularly interesting specimen. But depression has a way of dulling your instincts, of making you grateful for any kindness, no matter how strange it might feel. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Claire would arrive early to group, saving me a seat. She'd ask about my week, remembering every detail I shared about my struggles with work, my distant family, the growing pile of unopened mail on my kitchen counter. Her attention felt like a warm blanket on a cold night. When she first appeared outside my local grocery store, I convinced myself it was coincidence. "Sarah, what luck!" She helped me carry my bags home, tisking at the frozen dinners and processed snacks I'd chosen. "You need real food. Let me cook for you sometime." That's how it started. Small kindnesses that grew into something more. Claire bringing homemade soup when I mentioned feeling under the weather. Claire offering to help clean my apartment when she noticed how overwhelming it had become. Claire always there, always helping, always watching. I didn't notice the small changes at first. The way certain items in my apartment seemed slightly out of place. The occasional missing piece of mail. The growing fatigue that seemed to worsen despite my medication. It was the photos that first cracked her perfect facade. They appeared on my phone one morning, dozens of them. Me sleeping in my bed, mouth slightly open. Me crying on my couch, face buried in my hands. Me eating alone at my kitchen table, staring blankly at nothing. Pictures I hadn't taken, couldn't have taken. My hands shook as I scrolled through them, my stomach churning with growing horror. The timestamps showed they'd been taken over weeks, at all hours. Some through my windows, others from inside my apartment. I changed my locks that day, ignoring Claire's hurt messages asking why I'd missed group. That night, I tore apart my apartment, finding small cameras hidden in air vents, behind picture frames, even inside the smoke detector. In my medicine cabinet, I discovered my antidepressants had been replaced with identical-looking pills that tasted of sugar when I crushed one between my teeth. The journal was the final piece. I found it tucked behind my dresser, a thick black notebook filled with Claire's precise handwriting. Pages and pages of observations, times, dates, medications, conversations. My entire life documented with clinical detachment. Subject shows increasing dependence on emotional support, withdrawal from other social connections progressing as planned. Sleep patterns disrupted by gradual replacement of medication. Cognitive function showing marked decline. Physical symptoms of depression deepening. Subject increasingly isolated and vulnerable to suggestion. The last entry made my blood run cold. Day 156 of Breaking Sarah. Soon she'll be ready to join the others. Her loneliness has ripened into something beautiful. She'll understand soon that I'm the only one who truly sees her, who appreciates the exquisite nature of her suffering. I spent the night huddled in my bathroom, a kitchen knife clutched to my chest, reading through years of similar journals hidden in Claire's apartment. Other names, other lives, other broken women she'd befriended through support groups across the city. Each story ended the same way: a carefully orchestrated suicide, bodies found in bathtubs or hanging from ceiling fans, their final moments captured in loving detail in Claire's elegant script. The police found evidence of 12 victims when they finally raided her home. Photos lined her basement walls, women in various stages of despair, their suffering documented like butterfly specimens pinned under glass. In her bedroom, they discovered shelves of small boxes, each containing a personal item from her victims: a hairbrush, a favorite lipstick, a childhood photo, trophies from her collection. But Claire was gone. Sometimes I still see her. A glimpse of dark hair in a crowd, the scent of lavender and vanilla drifting past on a busy street, a shadow moving behind my apartment windows at night. Dr. Martinez says it's just paranoia, a natural response to trauma. He suggested a different support group, one in another city where I could start fresh. I declined. These days, I keep to myself. The dishes pile up, the mail goes unopened, and my new medication sits untouched on the bathroom counter. But I prefer the darkness of depression to the false light of friendship. At least the demons in my head are honest about their intentions. Yesterday, a letter arrived with no return address. Inside was a single photograph, me sitting at my window writing this very story. On the back, in familiar, elegant script, "You're my favorite, Sarah." No one else's pain has ever been quite so pure. Don't worry, we'll be together again soon. After all, I'm the only real friend you've ever had. She's right about one thing. I have no friends for a reason. But I'm ready this time. The cameras in my apartment are my own now. The kitchen knife has been replaced with something more practical. And I've learned that the most dangerous predators aren't the ones who bare their teeth. They're the ones who smile and offer to help carry your groceries. Claire taught me that much at least. The support group still meets every Tuesday in room 103. Sometimes I watch from across the street, studying the new faces that shuffle in, waiting. Because I know she'll return eventually, drawn back to her hunting grounds like all predators. And when she does, she'll find that depression hasn't made me weak. It's made me vigilant. Some monsters wear scales and fangs. Others wear kind smiles and carry homemade soup. I'll be ready for either.